All right, here, look. If you receive a wedding invitation from anyone in Westeros, go ahead and turn that bad boy down, because it's going to get messy. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Fifth episode of House of the Dragons called We Light the Way. Another very talky episode, not much action. There's only been one episode in this entire season that really had action in it. This is very much a talky episode, which I don't particularly have a problem with, but it can become tiring to folks who are like, let's move on with it. These episodes have been very much like, let's build the intrigue and deceit and confusion and hate between all of these characters before we go off into the sunset for these last 5 episodes and all hell breaks loose. This has been the episode that had the shortest amount of time jump in between the two episodes, which feels like breath of fresh air and how massive these jumps have been in the previous episodes. But I guess the word has gotten out that Rhaenyra is off to marry Laenor. And so we open up with Daemon going to go see his old thing in Rayna and taking her out brutally. Doesn't say a word to her. She's full of piss and vinegar and standing up for herself. But he attacks her on her horse and then bashes her brains in and leaves her there. All just because he's going to plan is to go back to this wedding not married so that he can kind of take on whatever it is that he wants to take on. He's in this back and forth with Rhaenyra, and sort of gets called out for it later in the episode. We then do get the goodbye from Lady Hightower. Allison goes to Otto and is like, I don't want you to go. She's like, I'm a queen, I forbid it. And he's like, your king says otherwise. And he's a little upset about the naivete that Allison has. He's like, yo, look, real talk, you did this. Like, you're responsible for me leaving because you sided with Rhaenyra. And she's like, I didn't. She told me, I trusted her, and she told me the truth. She said on her mother's grave and all this blah blah blah. She was saving her ass. And he's like, look, that king, because everybody, he's coughing up a storm. King Viserys, one, didn't want this job, no way. He's always had this look of like, I don't want to be here. But he's actually dying. He's coughing up. He's coughing consistently. He's had a bad cough for some time, and everybody can sort of see the writing on the walls. Like, he's not long for this world. He may get past this, but in the end, he's not going to grow to be an old man. And Otto tells Allison that, and he says it, and then tells her, "Hey, you got to make a decision. Are you going to cleave to the bosom of Rhaenyra and be her walking stone and hope that she shows you mercy, or are you going to take your kids and treat them as the true heirs of the kingdom? Because this world is not going to take Rhaenyra as king. Like, the second King Viserys dies and she tries to get on that throne, all hell is going to break loose, and your sons are going to be the ones who are kind of in the battle, are the ones that people are going to get behind to actually lead this world. And so, are you going to be the mom who raises your kids to do this, or are you going to have Rhaenyra be your BFF that I know lied to you?" And she sits there sort of sad and contemplating and thinking. And she goes on a mystery hunt to find out some more information, but not before somebody puts a little bug in her ear. Enter Solar Strong, who is giving all the Littlefinger vibes you possibly can. He is the Iago to the Othello that is happening here, and he whispers sweet nothings into Allison's ears, and kind of like, hey, I don't know if you're aware of this, and I don't know. Hey, she's probably telling the truth, but like I feel like I heard through the grapevine that she got a drink that got rid of some things that may have been complicating her life. And Allison puts two and two together and kind of like, wait, what? She had to take that drink anyway. Her father ordered that drink for her. All right, now I got some questions because this has a lot. And she's now set off on her venture to be like, I need to figure some things out because this person lied on her mama. Technically, again, the verbiage Rhaenyra used isn't quite a lie to what Allison asked, but it is still a lie. But she's like, this half a lie. I need to go figure some things out. While that's happening, Rhaenyra and Viserys are on a boat on their way to go see the Valerians to lock this all down to get this betrothment to happen. And in that, you got to remember this is where this gets weird and gross and incestual, but they're cousins. So even though they're not uncle and niece, it's still cousins. But there's already sort of a level of disrespect as King Viserys, Rhaenyra, and them show up on the island, and Corlys is not out to greet him. He's sitting in the chambers like, yeah, you come to me. It's a pissing match that's happening. But he does, and they sort of have a combo, and in it they betroth their children to each other. He does so with a bit of an agreement being placed. He's like, hey, if they produce heirs and they produce kids, will they be Valerian last name or will they be Targaryen last name? And King Viserys is like, okay, I see what you're doing here. They can be Valerian as long as they're born, raised, and come up. But the second they take that throne, their name switches over to Targaryen because that bloodline, that name with the dragons, still needs to be known. And that's an agreement that they all come together. What is also fascinating, though, is that how these kids are going to come to be is a bit questionable because everyone knows that Lenore is gay and does not like women. To the point when Corlys and his wife are talking about this situation, they're like, where are the kids? Where is Lenore and where is Rhaenyra? They're like, oh, they were walking on the beach. And he's like, oh, maybe they're getting along well. And Mom just kind of, was like, they're getting well. Yeah, sure, they're getting along as well as they can be. Um, and he's like, well, maybe they'll produce good heirs. She's like, look, I think we're putting our kid in danger because you know very well what he likes. And he's like, man, you get a good pair of, basically he's like, man, we can fix that. We can get a good pair of boobs in front of him. He'll be perfectly happy. He'll be fine. There's nothing like that. Another one of those things where this world, while we seem to have gotten past the racial aspects of things here, sexuality and homosexuality is still frowned upon, very much so. um, but it is something that everybody in this family sort of knows. The world doesn't know, but everybody in this family is sort of aware that is how he swings. And so Rhaenyra and he come up with this pact that says, hey, you can still go love who you love, and I will still go love who I love, but we will come together for the better of the world to make heirs and make things that will succeed and continue on, because that is what the world says we should do. And they both agree to that. He has his guy that is very much in his ear, and they go side by side. He is seeing things that he can't, that Lord Lenore can't see. That is sort of the pact that is made. And as they head back, Sir Christian is with them, and he's been with them the whole time. He's been made aware. That's her hand, basically her right hand person, her protector. Um, as they head back, Sir Christian, poor thing, Sir Christian declares his love to her. And it's a beautiful way. It's some Moulin Rouge, like I'm pouring my heart out to you, like let's run away. We can run away and let's lose our names. We don't have to worry about our names. We can just go out there and be free and be in love with each other. We can get rid of the crown, the kingdom. We can just be in each other's arms and madly in love with each other, and run away. And she's like, nah, son, that ain't gonna work for me. Mm-mm. Nah, I love you a lot. Like we can still do our thing, but I'm gonna get this kingdom. Like this kingdom is mine. Like I ain't do all of this stuff in my life to not have this kingdom. Like this is what I'm doing. Like I'm going to be the queen, and I'm gonna do this, and be damned if you. But look, while I'm doing this king, we've already made a pact. Me and my boy, my cousin, we already set it up so that we can still do our thing. He can still go do his thing. And he's like, wait, hold on. You want me to be your whore? And he felt a type of way about that. He's like, nah, it's not going to work. It's fascinating because it's the first time we sort of see it on the flip side of that. Normally, it's always the guy who's like, hey, you can be my side piece and you can be this be the person I'm actually doing it with. But on the other side of that, the guy is a little too emotional to be like, nah, that ain't going to work for me. And he's hurt. He's hurt by it. Like, massively hurt. And so he gets messy as the show goes along, messier and messier. Um, but that is a cold way for Rhaenyra to respond to that guy. And I don't know how she expected him to. She's like wants her cake and eats it too. Like, hey, I got my kingdom coming, and then I set it up so that we can do this, and you and I can still have all the fun that we want on the side, but in the shadows, so that nobody knows who you are or that we're together. So then, as they land and get back, Allison beckons for Sir Christian, and this is where Sir Christian drops a dime on himself. He self snitches. Man, snitches get stitches, Christian. Snitches get stitches. So what happens is Allison brings him in there to ask him about the Damon part of Rhaenyra's night, because he knows that you're always by her side, you're always doing this, and so she has him sit down and is like, "Hey, look, there's rumors going around. There's rumors going around," and she doesn't use names. She says Rhaenyra and someone else. She doesn't say the name, but she's inferring Damon, while Christian is believing that she's figured out about himself. And so he's out there, she's out there like, yeah, I need to know this. Like, can you just give me a heads up? And he's just like, yeah, no, I did it. It was me. I banged her out. I did this. And Allison's like, so confused, angry, hurt, sad. All the emotions you can think of is on her face. Um, and Christian's like, you can dismiss me, you can kill me, you can do whatever you want. I'm sorry. Now it's like, no, go about your business. Go ahead and about your business. I got some things I need to handle, but appreciate you giving me the heads up. Again, did not. She had no clue at all about Christian, and is very, very confused. And Rhaenyra's probably thinks less of her. Like, when you lied to me and said you did do nothing, you're still pure. And while it may not be Allison, while it may not be Damon, it was Christian. But I still don't necessarily know if you did anything with Damon, because people have seen you doing that. So now anything that comes out of your mouth is a effing lie to me. So then, the good old wedding, where it gets grimy. So King Viserys is having this big lavish party for Rhaenyra. And when it first shows up, it's just he and Rhaenyra. And the families of the kingdom are coming in. People have been betrothed to Rhaenyra already, are kind of feeling some type of way, and come in and say some foul stuff to King Viserys in front of Rhaenyra. Basically, it's poo-pooing that a woman's going to be the thing while bigging up Allison being the queen. It just gets really, really grimy in the way that it's all done. Rhaenyra and King Viserys have a kind of cute look together, saying like, hey, this guy's a clown, before the world just explodes. The Valerians show up, and they're all there. Later has his boy toy with him, so they are together. But he is there, sort of purveying the land, because he knows that I'm. Everybody knows that I'm your piece, but he's trying to sort of figure out who the person is that Rhaenyra is like, hey, that'll be my side piece or my side thing. So he's scoping out the land to see who is the most affected or the most looking on upon this situation with like sad or longing eyes. Then Big Dick Damon shows up. He just walks in and like, hey, who's gonna tell me I can't be here? I'm Targaryen. Like, that's my niece. It's my brother. Like, I'm coming to this party. And he just shows up. People are confused. People are like, I thought he was banished. But King Viserys lets out a chair, because at the end of the day, he is still family, and he's technically supposed to be there. He's the House of Targaryen, so yeah. So he sits, and starts giving these stolen glances to Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra sort of starts giving them back, like, I don't. What are you doing? And so then the proceedings begin to start. In the proceedings, you got to think about it. There are houses and people who just don't get along with each other. We have a moment where Rayna, who was Daemon's wife, who is now gone, that Daemon killed, but everyone is told that is an accident, but not everybody really believes that. Her cousin comes, and Daemon sort of dismisses him. It's like, oh, she's gone. I'm sorry. He's like, we all know the truth. And he pretty much tells him like, hey, yo, since we don't have any heirs and she is dead, I think she owes me something. Like, I think I get something off of her family. So when I see you again, let's have a discussion about that. and less about anything that we're talking about right now. It is a dismissive and cold way to handle that. And the cousin kind of like, well, shit, he's right. So then King Viserys starts to have a combo and starts talking about the marriages of the houses and what this is all going to bring. And then a dead stop happens. He sees Allison, who has not been present this entire time, and it's sort of late, and much to the disrespect of King Viserys. And she shows up, and she shows up in a green dress. Now, this is one of the parts of the episode that doesn't quite work for me because I think in the books um, that is a moment that is like hard hitting. Like everybody's like, as an audience, we know like, oh, she is pissed. She's being disrespectful as hell to this wedding. But because of all the clothes that Allison has worn before, it's all been blues. It's like this doesn't seem that different than what she's been wearing before. She's been wearing like these blues all the time, and this green pops out. And so she comes in the green, and it's supposed to be this big ringing like, what is she doing? But until we get a throwaway line from Littlefinger 2.0, who mentions that green is this declaration of the beacon of war, um, we kind of don't know the level of disrespect. So I just think while it comes across eventually, I think it would have hit harder had she just shown up in green and we knew we had some type of what the messaging of that was. She gets to that table and gives Rhaenyra's like, yeah, congratulations. The most driest congratulations she ever could. And Rhaenyra feels it, but she's like, all right, cool. I don't know what the issue is, but something's off there. King Viserys is out here coughing up blood at this point, like not long for this world. So everything that's kind of happening is culminating on this event. Rhaenyra and her husband go off to do their traditional dance that they do. It does not seem that there's any type of love between them as far as love in love. They are lovers because they're cousins. They're smiling, they're laughing, they're having a good time, but there's no true emotion that is behind them, which sometimes happens just anyway with these pairings because they're not always paired out of, usually not paired out of relationship. I mentioned earlier how Lenore's guy was there to sort of purview the land, and he does, and he sees that Christian is in a bad way. He sees that he is the one that is in complete and total pain anytime that Rhaenyra is in his presence or Rhaenyra is doing this dance with her new soon to be husband. So he goes to talk to Lenore. He's like, hey, I figured out who the paramour is on her side, and I'm gonna go have a combo with him because while they having a leg up on us, we want to have that same leg up. So nobody is one above the other. We both have each other's actual piece so that we can kind of continue this. We're still on an even playing field. And so he goes to have a talk with Christian and kind of lays in pretty hard on who he is and who Rhaenyra is to him and how he feels about her. Now, mind you, he already had turned down Rhaenyra's proposal. And he already felt slighted and disrespected and unloved and angry about that. But now he's got somebody whispering in his ear that she's already kind of given off that that's how that's going to be and that he is going to be nothing more than a side piece. And he's still hurting from the fact that, she don't love me. The hell is going on? So he leaves, tells him to go away. Kind of already starting to grab by the sword, but he's like, "No, you need to back up off the hell out of my face." He does so, and then Daemon goes and gets that some more of that big dick energy. He takes Rhaenyra. He cuts in at a dance and brings her off to the side, to the middle, where King Viserys can't quite see her, but she can see that they're having a kind of forceful and intimate conversation. And in that, Rhaenyra's just kind of like, Daemon's like, what are you doing? You don't want to do this. And Rhaenyra's like, well, you don't want me. Like, if you wanted me so bad, this is where this gets a little grimy and gross, Uncle Denise again, but it's like, if you wanted me so bad, you take me out to the keep right now and go ahead and marry me. Like, F all these, you got a sword, handle your business, and get me up out of here, if that's what you want to do. If you don't, back the hell up and let me do what I'm supposed to be doing, because you already sort of dismissed me. And it looks like that they are getting closer and closer and about to kiss, and then all hell breaks loose. Joffrey, who's Lenore's guy, gets his face pounded in by Christian. And it's just brutal. Like, he is beating, enraged, incensed, and is just beating the ever-living hell out of him. So an eye is missing, his whole face is just smashed in. It's gross and bloody. And again, who didn't expect something terrible to happen at this wedding with so many different personalities. Just didn't think Christian was going to be snapping off. That's what happens when you tell somebody a forever side piece. That said, the biggest issue that kind of comes out of this entire sequence isn't the fact that Christian killed this guy in front of everybody. It's the fact that Lenore screams as if the high heavens have lost his loved one and cries over Joffrey. And so he's doing this in front of all of Westeros. So any inclination that just the family had that Lenore was gay is now amplified times 5,000 because the way that he responds to Joffrey's death. So we got to speed that wedding up. This wedding was supposed to be a 7-day extravaganza. Has now been truncated to like, let's go do this now because the word is out. And so the shotgun wedding happens, but without a kid. Rhaenyra kisses Lenore on the cheek, but he's devastated, broken, half of a man. Christian is standing at the side, but doesn't really want to be a part of this. Allison is there. It gets rough, but the wedding occurs. But King Viserys collapses at the wedding. All the blood and stuff that he's been caught, he's done. I don't know if he dies, but it feels like that might have been the sequence that he is gone. His last thing was to marry. There is now a succeeding couple, and he's gone. So I think. I believe this is the episode where we get the age up subsequently after this. So now people are all kind of on their battlefield. The last thing that sort of happens in this that's very important is that Christian, poor guy, is feeling bad about himself, and he lays his sword down and is about to go kill himself until Allison stops him. He's going to commit suicide until Allison stops him, which now puts him in Allison's court. Like, he is now forever indebted to her. I think Rhaenyra lost somebody who's going to be viscerally angry at her. So that's one more person in Allison's team, Allison's court, because this is about to be Allison versus Rhaenyra. Now that King Viserys is out, it's going to be the two of them, and there's going to be a juxtaposition, like a battle for who gets to actually put somebody on that court. Aegon, her son, her firstborn, should be, in her eyes, the king, and she's like, nope, I'm here, I'm the successor. Well, it's also going to be interesting, and I don't know this because I have not read the books, I'm not one of the book readers. I don't see a world where Rhaenyra has children fathered by Corlys's kid. I don't see them in a place where they actually consummate the marriage. So if Rhaenyra is to actually have heirs or anything, I don't think they're going to be, they might be by name Valyrian, but I don't think they're going to be by blood Valyrian and Targaryen. Like, somebody else is going to have to come in and father those kids. Now, whether it's Sir Christian or whether Daemon does it, those kids should look really weird. But however it comes about, there's going to be more lying that Rhaenyra does to sort of keep a hold of the throne. Like, the only thing that she has is that her father told her that she should be put there. But if he's gone and the world is saying you shouldn't be, she's holding on to that one thing that the previous successor has said, but now no one else believes in. And then you start having kids that aren't truly of the bloodline that is supposed to take over. It gets really dicey while there's already a male heir in place. Again, a fun episode in that there's a lot of deceit and teams switching over and people's hearts being broken. Like, there's a lot of talking that occurs that is very important. I do hope that as we get into these next couple episodes, we start ramping up the action and violence a little bit. Although there is violence here, it just feels very, I don't know if we can have an entire season that all feels like this when we only have that one action sequence in the middle. There's always been a give and take, and I do hope that sort of comes back a little bit more in the back half. I think all the pieces are in place. I think we're in the right spot to go into the back half of the season. I wonder if they change the logo that's on HBO Max now that they're aging up Rhaenyra too, that they put the current actress in there. That'd be kind of a cool thing to do. But those are my thoughts on episode 5, We Light the Way. What did you guys think about this episode? Would you plan to ever go to a wedding in Westeros? Were you invited? Because That's going to be a negative for me. Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI, or you can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast by the same name that is on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We are there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.